Hello, this is Bob Treemore. It's been a while. It's easy to make videos when good things are happening. It's easy to make videos when interesting things are happening. It's easy to make videos when bad things are happening. Those are all times when it's easy to make videos. When you see something in the news or you see something in research that comes up and says, "Oh, that looks interesting. I think I'll make a video on that." About Peloton, about something that I'm passionate about. We haven't made a lot of videos recently. There's a reason. The reason is year two of Barry McCarthy at Peloton has been desolation, has been a wasteland, has been a nuclear winter of inactivity. So what we're going to do, we're going to do what we can do, and that is kind of do a year in recap a little bit, and then really address what is on people's minds. Who murdered Peloton? Where did Peloton go? A company that was at the top of the mountain so many years ago. So many. It's hard to say that. So many years ago. I've been covering Peloton for almost 4 years now. And where are we now? We're nowhere. Why is that, and how did we get here? I'm wearing my Peloton hat today, not because I still believe in Peloton, which I do, or Peloton's mission. Peloton, the company, I have a lot of questions about. But I'm wearing a hat because I've not gotten a haircut in a little while, and it's a little crazy up there. So bear with me with the hat. I'm not a hat wearer, so I'm probably going to fiddle with it. But my hair is something else to see. And it's December. I need to get a haircut. Christmas is coming up. Should we jump in? Let's jump into this. Quick year in recap, and then we're going to investigate who murdered Peloton, because it seems to be a dead brand. There's not a lot of forward movement. So, year two under Barry. An overview of Peloton's 2023. And sniffing out who's to blame. That's going to be the theme of what we do here today. So let's do the year in recap. This is going to take when you're doing year in recap, a lot of years, there's so many things to talk about. Release this, introduce this, new countries this, whatever this. People who follow Peloton closely, you're now kind of scratching your head. What are we going to review? I know! What are we going to review? Year two of Barry, I've done videos, and a lot of you and I have discussed this. Year one, Barry was no complaints, cost cutting, great. But what's he going to do in year two? I have reservations, I have thoughts, I have concerns. Oh boy, did they come to fruition? Let's do it. This is not going to take a lot of time here. Peloton 2023. We still have a few days left. Maybe something, pull something out of their hat. No new hardware. We got the Tread Plus back. Can we all agree that was not new hardware? Row came out in 2022. It was planned at the founding of Peloton back in, depends what date you look at, 2012, 2014. Row was actually on their books back 10 years ago. It finally came in 2022, but no new hardware. Peloton pays Dish, settles a lawsuit for $75 million. I did the math a little bit earlier. You look at that and you think big companies, $75 million. Write a check. I did the math. If, optimistically, very optimistically, let's say Peloton makes $500 per bike sold. To make that back, there's 150,000 new sales of bikes. 150,000 just to make it back. So this is not a write-off for Peloton. $75 million is big bucks. What it could have been or whatever if the lawsuit had continued, who knows? That's not small. Bike seat post recall. We're aware of that, right? Another estimated $40 million out the door. CMO in, CMO out. Chief Marketing Officer, we know about Leslie. And Dara. Dara was before Leslie. Leslie came in January of 2023, and Leslie is out after selling all of her stock in Peloton. And now Lauren is in. The last founders, Tom Cortese, I believe that's how you say his name. The last founder at Peloton after John Foley left. He pulled up whatever his chucks, got in his van, and left Peloton as a CPO, Chief Product Officer. Chief Product Officer. We're going to come back to that in a second. We talked about the Tread Plus coming back, John Foley's Tread Plus. App price and tiering feature came in. Peloton doesn't sell their $400 million investment. Well, they haven't. That was the slated investment. But they haven't sold their $400 million pile of rocks sitting in Ohio that they're never going to use. One international country was added. There was a Lululemon partnership that's estimated to be in the tens of millions of dollars. Good, that helps with the dish thing a little bit over 7 years. Netflix and Disney and various things were added to the front end software. Big part of what Leslie did with her rebrand is a big momentous. This is what we're down to in reviewing 2023 for Peloton. They added on your app for your phone. You can now change the color of your app icon. I somewhat sarcastically added this, but this is one of the big moments of Leslie's stay. You can change the app icon. We wonder why Leslie's not there anymore. And the board gave Barry a pay raise. Okay, all right. That was 2023 for Peloton. In a nutshell, that is 2023. You can see why this didn't take long. What is there to review? This is a company in stagnation. This is a company, and if you've watched one of my other videos, this is a company executing to the best of their ability. Executing is executing with meh. They are executing to their fullest extent. So what are we going to do here today? Today, we're going to play a game of Clue. We're going to play a game of Clue to figure out who murdered Peloton. Because it sure seems like there is a corpse laying on the ground outlined in chalk, and there's a lot of people standing over it, rubbing their heads and massaging their chin and using their noggin, and they're going, there's a corpse there. But the thing is, no one seems to be concerned why there's a dead body laying in the ground named Peloton. And that's the crux of what I'm here for today. Why is there no outrage on the part of investors, especially, as to the execution of Peloton over the last year? This company should be pulling, they should be digging deep every moment of the day. Everyone working at Peloton should be putting in 10, 12 hours a day trying to figure out how to get this brand back in motion again. As we saw from the 2023 review, I see no evidence of that. And as we're on the hunt for who murdered Peloton, we need evidence. 2023 is a year with no evidence of any action, or very little. So we have to pursue what clues we have and come to a conclusion. So we're playing a game of Clue today. Who murdered Peloton? Now, everyone should be familiar with the game of Clue. You got a bunch of suspects. You got a bunch of rooms. Oh, I forgot to change my cursor. You know, most of the times I remember to change my cursor. Let me see if I can do it real fast. This is a constant thing where sometimes I remember, sometimes I don't. And today was one of those days where I did not remember. Oh, I can change the color. I can change the appearance. Where can I change the size? Text cursor. You know, some days you're just, you know, it's just, ooh, that is big. But we got it. It didn't take that long. Bear with me, folks. I'm a human. So we know Clue. At the end of this, we're going to know the place, which is this big, ambiguous area down here where this murder, where this crime happened. We're going to know the person. And we're going to know the weapon they used. But first, we got to examine what brought us to today? Why are we doing this activity at the end of 2023 when we should be regaled with the amazing feats that Peloton achieved with their 4,000 employees? I track employees. Sometimes I brought it up in previous videos. I didn't bring it up in this video. Peloton has about, give or take, 4,000 employees. The next connected fitness person, if we take out people like SoulCycle and Beachbody, which the business models don't match exactly, but a hardware fitness, connected fitness company, we're talking someone like Tonal at 400 to 500 employees. Peloton has 4,000 employees. So there's a lot of suspects to choose from. Ay, ay, ay. So what brought us here? What we don't have, in the spirit of Christmas here, is we don't have Jimmy Stewart and It's a Wonderful Life. We see Jimmy Stewart with a perplexed look on his face. I'm not sure I see these perplexed looks on Peloton's staff when they're doing their quarterly calls. They're seemingly very confident in the future of Peloton. But this is the reality. And unfortunately, what's not the reality is all these folks who want their money back. We'll call them the investors for the sake of this. We'll call this guy Peloton. We'll call you, maybe you call him Barry. And we've got all these investors clamoring at the windows. Where's my money? Where's my return? Where's my stock price? Why? Where are these people? It is so quiet out there. So what brought us here is we started with Peloton, doing great. And we went to good. And we went to fair. And then, frankly, we went to poor. What we're not seeing, or really seeing in small portions, are we're seeing frustration. Maybe move to anger. Are you seeing this? I'm not witnessing this. What I am witnessing is this guy over here is a lot of disappointment. And my question to you, to myself, is disappointment enough? Should we be satisfied with being in a perpetual state of disappointment with Peloton leadership? Is this a good place to be for 2 years? 1 year of cost cutting, 1 year of lack of forward direction. Not seeing frustration guy, not seeing anger guy. I'm seeing a lot of disappointment guy. Synonymous with disappointment is sad, and this is a sad situation, and that is we feel helpless as investors. We feel completely, utterly helpless as to the state of Peloton. You would think at this point we would see something like this. Mob rage. I'm not seeing it. Do you see it? I don't see it. I think we have given Peloton enough opportunities and chances to reclaim some version of itself and seen upward movement in sales activity, upward movement in innovation, upward movement in inspiration. Nothing of it. So we're stuck with this guy over here. Complete and utter disappointment. It feels so helpless. As an investor, I am this guy. I feel helpless. I don't know what to do. I have a lot of shares of Peloton. I don't have enough to make a difference. I think at this point, something like this is warranted. And obviously, this is just a saint march up to Peloton headquarters with a torch. I'm just saying, some rage, some well-appointed rage at the responsible parties is warranted. And I would like to start seeing it, because I think at this point it is deserved. So here we go. Who's our first suspect? What's our first room? What's our first weapon of choice? We always know that in a classic game of Clue, you got Colonel Mustard with the candlestick in the library. Let's bring up number 1. John Foley. Suspect number 1, John Foley, and the rose-colored glasses. It's 2023. Part of this is 2023 year in review. So as much as I would like to say to lay blame at the corpse that is lying in front of me, which is Peloton, and lay blame on John Foley at 2023, I'm going to have to rule out, or at least say, the odds of John Foley murdering Peloton in 2023 are low. But his rose-colored glasses certainly put us on a path to where we are today. He is implicated. Is he guilty? Let's find out a little bit later on. But as we have it right now, suspect's whereabouts are unknown. He was dismissed. So that puts him a little lower on the list. Next guy, Barry McCarthy, CEO of Peloton, with his accounting brim. If you're under 50, you probably don't even know what an accounting brim is. I tried to find some good movie snaps or something like that would show what people wearing accounting brims. But accounting brims, these little green hats, little green visors that accountants used to wear to help the harsh light as they're literally reading and typing into mechanical calculators, what they are doing for the accounting for their firm. And as I think we all know, he's been a CFO extraordinaire in many companies, in Spotify and Netflix. Is Barry's accounting acumen responsible for the state of Peloton today? Year one, he used his brim to good effect. I approved. I sanctioned this. Peloton had become bloated. They still are bloated. But in year two, was this the guy to have in charge? Was this the guy who killed Peloton? Because year two is abysmal. Let's keep looking at our suspects. But here's the evidence for Barry. Barry's not dismissed like John Foley, so we can look at his evidence. Got some revenues and we got some stock prices. I don't think we really need to go into this. I think this evidence is self-evidentiary. But one thing I do want to look at, what are the hopes and dreams that investors had? And members, really, to a large extent. And as a believer in the mission of Peloton, I think Peloton is not only a great company, not only a great product, but its mission is fantastic, making people healthier through exciting things like connected fitness devices. I want to see more people using them. And not just to increase my stock price, but to make the world a healthier place. The world needs to be a healthier place. There is a lot of obesity and ill health in the world as we know it today. And Peloton's mission was and is still a valid mission. And that's why Disappointment Boy is so disappointed, because on the earnings call August 23rd, 2023, a question was asked to Barry about international, and his response was, well, in the current year, international will be a growth opportunity for us. It was not this past year, because this past year, the objective was to reduce operating losses of that business. But in the current year, this was August 2023, international will be a growth opportunity for us. How hard is it? I've mentioned this previously, so I'm not going to harp on this. But when we're talking about an app rollout, which has a lot of modalities, it has yoga and bar and shadow boxing and meditation, things that don't necessarily require connected fitness machines. How hard is it to roll out that app globally? And again, I've talked about this at length previously, but I don't understand why it's so hard. It baffles my mind. So what did we do in 2023? To Barry's point of, in the current year, international growth will be a priority. Let's look at the evidence. Can you see it? Can you see the international rollout? Gray is I have a country here highlighted as the new rollout. Can you see it yet? I don't know if you still can. There we go. 2023, international growth is a primary opportunity for us in 2023. We added Austria. This guy right here. So I went down that hole a little bit further, and I said I want to find out, because because I hate to have Barry up here if Barry's not directly responsible, though he's indirectly responsible for everything that has a Peloton name slapped on it. I want to know who is the Peloton Senior Vice President for International Consumer Expansion, because I wanted to investigate that individual. I wanted to see how long they were at the company, what they were doing, what their experience was, and see could I find reasons for why this individual wasn't going. And I'm going to show you a few screens. I'm going to go quickly. Just remember what I said earlier about 4,000 employees. So I went looking for the Peloton SVP of International Consumer Expansion. What did I find? I found a lot of international global people. There's a GM of international. There's head of international retail. There's the senior director of international communications, sales and operations, real estate, senior international content producer. Okay. Who else do we have here? Global music strategy, global product design, global diversity, equity, and inclusion, global head of life cycle, okay, and marketing, okay. We'll find him. Let's keep looking. Vice President of Global Communications, another life cycle person, global sales operations, Vice President of marketing. That didn't do it. Vice President, another music guy. Here we go. Global talent. We're looking for the expansion guy. Consumer expansion. Strategic brand builder, senior vice. Another global communications guy. Is this like the third or fourth we've had? Vice President of Global Total Rewards. I don't even know what that is. What is this guy doing every day? It must be important because he's got Vice President of... I don't even know what a reward is. Is that when you get $100 back when you give a referral? Do they need a Vice President of referral codes? What is that? Global social creator and culture. Whew. Global director programming. There has to be... This guy has to be here somewhere. Where is this guy? Where is this guy? Here's the last screen where I stopped looking. Well, actually, I continued looking. These screens could have gone on for, I kid you not, another 5 slides of 6 people a slide, another 30 people who are elevated. I didn't look for lower level management people who had international in the title or global in the title. I looked for people who with decision-making priorities in their matrix. Senior Vice President, Senior Director. Global GM FAST, Barry's baby, FAST. We got a Global GM in charge of FAST. Global Senior Director in charge of Global Environmental Design, Senior Director, Global People Operations, Senior Global Member Support. This was it. This was it. I did not find the Peloton Senior Vice President in charge of International Consumer Expansion. I don't know where they are. And that's what led us to this. Austria, somewhere in there. How hard is it to roll out either app and or hardware to more countries than what we have? Because it is a top priority of 2023, supposedly. Do you really believe? I'm getting a little too excited. Calm down, Bob. Calm down, Bob. Do you believe in 2024 Barry's actually going to do something more than Austria? Because he's had 2 years. And that's what we got. And I cannot even find a senior VP or a VP or a senior director in charge of consumer expansion, global consumer expansion. Maybe they exist at Peloton. Maybe they're simply not in LinkedIn. But the fact is, if they're not in LinkedIn, I question their professional abilities. And 2, if they don't exist at all, why? Is Barry in charge of this? Is Barry directly in charge of international rollout? Or is it the person who, should we just give it to the guy who's a senior VP of global rewards? Global referral code, senior vice president. Should we give it to that guy? That's who's in charge? Maybe we should have put that guy on the murder suspect list. Oh, yeah. Let's go to the next subject. Barry McCarthy is on the board as a suspect for murdering Peloton. Oh, Jill Woodworth. Oh, my gosh. Jill Woodworth. People familiar with Jill Woodworth, CFO, prior to Liz Coddington. So Jill actually went back. She was, well, we'll get there in a second. Jill is infamous. If you don't know who Jill is infamous. She was a fairly short-term CFO, kind of like Leslie Berland as CFO or CMO. But Jill had a momentous item in her CV as far as Peloton. And even though she left before 2023, we cannot rule her out as a suspect because she saddled her weapon of choice was saddling Peloton with, well, let's go next screen. Just remember, Joe Woodworth, suspect, in one of these rooms, saddled with debt. This was one of the earnings call. Someone asked Jill about, what's your cash position at Peloton? Do you feel good? And here it is. You burned through about 650 million cash. This is the guy asking the question. And obviously looking at further losses ahead, you think you're going to need more money? November 4th, 2021. Yeah, Doug, it's Jill. We don't see any need for further capital. Peloton it had been a debt-free company for so long. One of the crowning jewels on Peloton is that it was a debt-free company. And that's why we're reprising Jill on the suspect list, even though she left in 2022, I believe. Because this was the weapon of choice, was so momentous, so enormous, that when we went through the suspect files, we had to pull her out of the deck. So November 4th, 2021, we don't see a need for further capital raise. If you're not familiar with this, you may find it hard to believe. 12 days later, Peloton today announced it has commenced an underwritten public offering of $1 billion. Jill, 12 days ago, we don't need any more money. 12 days in the future. Just kidding. And believe me when I tell you, I had no idea we were considering asking for another $1 billion. This literally just like in the last 2 weeks, we set this all up. That is the earmarks of someone who could potentially kill a company. And here's this $400 million pile of rocks that Peloton can't sell. A lot of this $1 billion went to building this empty shell of a warehouse in Lucky, Ohio, to build more bikes and treadmills and various things for us. But it's an empty shell, and it's looking for an owner. You can go to Zillow. You can buy this thing for scraps. However, that's weird how that did that. She was dismissed. And so her active role in murdering Peloton in 2023 has lessened to a degree. I have to admit that. So the next suspect is, I have a long history with Peloton CMOs. I've sat through almost all of them. And none of them have been stellar. That's an understatement. So we had Dara. Dara went out. And we got Leslie. And Leslie's weapon of choice was the great rebrand, the fluorescent colors. And kind of like as we reviewed Peloton's enormous accomplishments in the year 2023, the great rebrand and Leslie's stay, 9-month stay, 10-month stay at Peloton as their CMO, ex-Twitter. And trust me, if you follow me on X/Twitter, I've got thoughts on Leslie. But I'm not going to go into those here. I've got a lot of thoughts. But Leslie's big accomplishment was changing colors to fluorescent oranges and purples and yellows and greens. And she said, that was I did a lot. That was good. I think I've kind of maxed out my potential. Might be, Barry, coming in your office, I've put you guys on a good track. I changed all your colors from blacks and reds, deep reds, to fluorescent greens and purples and yellows and oranges. And I think I'm ready for my next opportunity because I've given you everything that you need to succeed. How many hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars did we give Leslie to do this? And what did we get in return? Well, if we go back to Barry's charts, we got nothing in return, if not negative movement. However, again, on the suspect list, a lot of these suspects are kind of AWOL, receded into the weeds. We're going to have to send the dogs after them to even find them if we determine that they are the person who murdered Peloton. Suspect whereabouts unknown, dismissed. We had a lot of suspects, and we still have a couple. Who is responsible? And if you think I'm going to take the easy way out at the end, if you think I'm going to take the easy way out when we turn over the clue card and we determine who was the person, you might be mistaken, because I'm not going to take the easy way out. So we're getting to the end of our suspect list. Tom Cortese. I have had no gripes with Tom Cortese. I've never interacted with him. I've never really even spoken about him or referred indirectly to him in my 4 years of covering Peloton. He's a founder. I think that you deserve some amount of respect for that. Stay away. No touch. But at this point in time, when we are a disappointed boy, when we are a sad boy, you have to comb the suspect list and look for all the potential suspects. Tom stepped down this year as the CPO's Chief Product Officer. And perhaps he should have. Because there was no new hardware introduced in 2023. Barely anything in 2022. Barely anything in 2021. We had the Row, which had been on the books since the founding of the company. That was in 2022, though. We had the Guide, which prefaced this, which the Guide is... I have videos on Guide. I think Guide is a misplaced device. I think it was meant to be an accompanying device to something that Peloton never built. But Guide is just a trash piece of equipment. People who like it and use it, good for you. It did not move any needles. We looked at needles earlier. This, if anything, it moved the needle down further. This was, here's a side note. When this came out, Peloton, should I even pull it up? Can I do this without messing everything up? No, I can't really do it very easily. It's too bad, because it was very interesting. Nah, I can't do it easily. When it came out, Guide was marketed as Peloton's strength entry device. So they had cardio. Okay, and they had things like meditation, stuff like that. They didn't have a strength device. Peloton needed a connected fitness strength device. This was their one point of entry, their only point of entry. And when it came out, Peloton was marketed, or Guide was marketed as the strength device at Peloton. This is where your connected fitness journey ends for strength. It ends at Guide. By Guide, strength is taken care of. Well, if you go to onepeloton.com now, back in the day, if you look at the top border, I wish I could easily bring it down. For whatever reason, I can't. You've got like cardio, you got bikes and treads, which are obviously cardio. And then when Guide was released, there was a strength menu button. And when you went to bike, treadmill, strength, you were met with Guide. Peloton has finally come to grips that this is not a strength device. It was never a strength device, as many people said all along. It was never a strength. Where is Guide now? Does it have a top menu layer like bikes and treadmills? No. Now, to find Guide on Peloton site, you have to go to accessories, where they have like dumbbells and yoga blocks. And oh, by the way, we have this Guide. We don't really know what it is. It's not cardio. It's not strength. It's some weird thing. And we have demoted it from strength because, frankly, we all knew it wasn't a strength device. We've demoted it to it's an accessory. Chief Product Officer. He deserves to be on this list. We covered this. Tread Plus was reintroduced, but it was a Foley thing. Tom had nothing to do with that. Guide, ay. Row, arguably, I could give it to him. I don't know, but it certainly again didn't move the needle. But where we end up is dismissed or left. Suspect's whereabouts unknown. And here we get to the last suspect we're going to talk about today. And I could probably go on this suspect for 30 minutes. I'm going to try and move things along as quickly as I can. I'm going to make a determination. I'm going to do it quickly. A lot of people are going to be offended by this suspect. I can't. But I try to be truthful in my approaches to Peloton and objective, not subjective. This is going to hurt a lot of people's feelings. It's going to be, I don't want to say controversial, because my videos aren't controversial, let's be honest. My audience isn't wide enough for me to be controversial. I'm just a guy who's studied Peloton for a very long time, and I have my opinions. But this will ruffle some feathers. The last suspect we're going to talk about is Robin Arzon. Robin Arzon is the Senior Vice President of Content, or Senior Vice President of Talent, Vice President of... I should pull it up. I did pull it up in my notes, but I didn't bring it in. I should, because I knew I was going to forget this. But she's Vice President of Content, Talent, Programming, something like that. And where we are today, and again, I've done some stuff on this, either on Twitter or in my videos. We started getting really a lot of connected fitness stuff and the in-studio exciting classes. I mean, that started really happening around 2016 or so. I guess you could go back to 2014. Where we have a guy or a gal in a studio, and they're doing interesting things in front of you on a bike or a treadmill. And you have connected fitness stats. You're going so fast, and follow me along. I mean, they are the instructors, right? So we have been in studio, let's just say since 2014. It's now almost 2024. So 10 years of talent and studio. And we're still trapped in these dark studios. There has been no advancement, no innovation in presenting content, which is Peloton's largest selling point. If we all agree, the biggest selling point of Peloton is no longer Connected Fitness. You can buy a Connected Fitness PC anywhere that will log what you're doing. It was the personalities. It was the venue. It was the excitement. In 2016, 2014, we had, Jen Cotter. Let's use Jen because Jen was the OGs. We had Jen Cotter in a dark room instructing a cycling class. In 2023, almost 2024, what do we have? We have Jen Cotter in a dark room instructing a cycling class. Meanwhile, we have people like Hydro and even Beachbody. Beachbody has a huge wall behind them of people actually actively participating. Hydro is out there doing live rows on rivers. We have other companies doing meditations in external environments, beautiful like Red Rocks or the snowy mountains or next to a burbling brook. In Peloton, we have instructors in a dark studio talking to a camera. So content, which was one and is one of Peloton's biggest selling points, has not advanced. Other than getting your periodic celebrity in. And doing those short format little things with Ashton Kutcher and Kim Kardashian, and Tunde did a little Peloton, did a podcast thing, and Olivia Mulatto, Olivia, I forget her last name, did something with a treadmill or a bike, I don't know. But we did some short format stuff. Those failed. Those are no longer on the books. You don't see the short format stuff anymore. So we're back to where we were. So is she, Robin Arzon, is she responsible for not advancing something that is the hallmark of what made Peloton successful? What do we have instead? This is going to be a cheap shot. people are going to interpret this as a cheap shot, and maybe it is a cheap shot. But it is what it is. What do we have instead? We have side hustles. Now, I agree with that these very highly compensated instructors should be allowed to pursue other ventures on their own. But when those other ventures outshine the company that made them famous to begin with, I have questions. Here we have Cody on a GM chassis he was doing for a while. It's easy to follow these steps. Side hustles for dummies. So what do we end up with? With Robin Arzon being Chief Talent, Senior Vice President of Talent. We have plastered on all of our screens, of all of our Instagrams, of all of our Facebooks, of all of our television commercials, of all of our whatever we're consuming, that Emma Lovewell is partnered with Under Armour and Panasonic and Sonos, and Alex Toussaint is partnered with the NBA and Ladder and Puma and Hyperice. That Ali Love is partnered with Netflix and Therabody and Adidas and Nissan. And Cody Rigsby is partnered with ABC, Capital One, Degree, Adidas, Gatorade, Chobani. Is something outshining the originator of what made them famous? Now, all these people are still doing great work at Peloton. I have nothing against these individuals, and I had nothing against these individuals in modicum when they were getting partnerships or doing something as a side hustle to make additional dollars. But has it come to the point where focus has been lost? And that when Ali Love is doing something for Netflix or when Cody Rigsby is doing something for ABC, are they promoting Peloton or are they promoting themselves? They are promoting themselves. Peloton is nowhere in the conversation. They are famous because of Peloton, but when they go to Capital One and they say, buy the Capital One card, don't buy it because I'm wearing a Peloton t-shirt. Buy it because I'm Cody Rigsby and I'm famous for something else that I'm not going to mention. Meanwhile, Peloton is shrinking, is shriveling in the cold pool of desolation. It was cold. It was cold, George Costanza said. What else? What else do we get? We get books. Everybody's got a book, right? We're going to get to write Robin Arzon, other than being senior talent officer, is most at fault for this. And did she kill the golden goose content for Peloton at her own decision, at her own will, by her own modeling? We're going to get to there in just a second. So we have books. Everybody's writing a book. I need to write a book. As a Peloton writer, I need to write. No one's going to buy it. Maybe I'm not sure my wife would even buy my book about riding my Peloton. But everyone's got books, or everyone's got books coming out. Maddie's got a book coming out. She's one of my favorite instructors. Christine Durkle got a book coming out. One of my favorite instructors. I love Christine's. I like Alex. I like Christine. And don't even get me started on Mela. I love Mela. She doesn't speak a word lick of English, or at least generally doesn't speak a lick of English. But Mela's. She wrote a book. I'm not going to read her book. It's probably, I don't know if it's German. So that leaves us with the senior vice president herself, who is partnered with Athletic Greens, Masterclass, Pottery Barn, Adidas. What is the deal with Adidas? Verizon. And she's also out writing books. This is Strong Mama. She's writing her books. So she's hustling too. She's setting the model. She's saying, what I'm going to do, you can do. But beyond that, I'm going to do it even harder. Forget the company I work for. I've got other things to do. This reminds me of Dara, who could do a master class in self-promotion. The former CMO before Leslie, before Lauren. So now she's got her own toy line at Amazon. Go buy Robin Arzon's toys. Beyond that, and this is part I want to quickly move over, it is puzzling. Robin Arzon started her own little club, the Swagger Society. And for $1,299, you could buy an NFT. Really, I'm not kidding. An NFTs, which died many years ago. She came out with this in 2022 after the NFT market crashed. And she said, I'm Robin Arzon. You want to be friends with me, you're going to buy my NFT for $1,300. And then I'll also give you some tips, or I'm going to meet with you once a quarter, and we're going to talk about all the cool things about Robin Arzon. Or you can go to a lesser membership, but you're not going to get a cool NFT for $300 a month. She calls it Swagger Society. Swagger. Swagger with Robin. This is a person setting the example. So when we see stuff like this, they're like, why wouldn't I do this? Robin's got her own books. Robin's got her own toy line. Robin's got her own side hustle about making people buy NFTs, which are worthless. All right, that was as quick as I could move through that. That was unpleasant for me. It honestly was. The talent at Peloton, who is so talented, but we see them more in a non-Peloton context than we see them in Peloton context now. Peloton is a company that brought them to where they are. Peloton is a company that's struggling. They're now individually succeeding. And again, to a lot of these folks, I don't fault them to a degree. But there comes a point when it's too much. And the person in charge of talent should be saying, we need to rein this back a little bit. Not be selling NFTs to our members. Not being on every other commercial on CNBC about selling shoes. So here's what we end up with suspects. Again, I'm not going to take it the easy way out. But we have John Foley with rose-colored glasses. We have Barry with his accounting brim. We have Jill with her saddling of Saddle Creek with debt as the weapon. We have suspect Tom Cortese, chief product officer who didn't release new products, with the guide representing the lack of innovation. And we have Robin Arzon with the riches and fame. Who of these is to blame? Let's go back up. For Murdering Peloton. When it comes down to it, well, you thought I was going to say all of them. And none of them. They played a role. All of them gave pieces of a weapon to someone else. All of them whispered in ears of someone else. They all contributed to the murder, to the state of Peloton, to what it is today. So who murdered Peloton? It's the least sexy thing you could say. This is not the easy way out. This is the least sexy way out. It is the board of directors. This is where everyone's head rolls up in their eyes and they're like, the board of directors. It's some nebulous, ethereal group of people who move the wires, the puppet strings. Yeah, it is. It's the invisible, ethereal, nebulous people who move the strings, who are the only people above Barry who control the fate of the company. And they've permitted, they have allowed Peloton to descend year after year after year into the abyss that it's in. There's only one person responsible, one entity responsible. It is the board of directors. These are the people who are it. But is that the final stop? Before we get to the final stop, because it is the board of directors' fault, they can fire Barry. Barry could fire Leslie. Barry could fire Tom. Barry could do whatever. But who can fire Barry? These folks. I have nothing against these folks. These are who they are. Okay? We're going to briefly go through them because I think it's important to know who they are. I have nothing against any individuals. There's no smoking gun. I'm not going to point out one of them and say, oh my gosh, look at this. This is a conflict of interest. This is blah, 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 blah. This is crazy. This is... No. These are normal people who generally, their professional occupation, I think there's 6 of them here, I think 4 out of the 6, their professional occupation in life, at this stage in their life, is to sit on boards of various companies. That is their profession. They are board sitters. Are they bringing value? So we have John Callaghan. We're going to go into each of these briefly here in a second. 2015, J. Hogue. 2018, started on the board. Pamela Thomas Graham, no offense. Karen Boone, who's the chair, 2019. This red line here, this is kind of where things went south fast. And when it went south fast, who is not being self-responsible and kicking themselves off the board. These people have been on the board during the good times. We're now 2 or 3 years into the bad times, and they're still sitting on the board, I guess patting each other on the back and buying each other drinks and lighting up cigars in the boardroom and saying, gosh darn it, we are doing amazing work at Peloton. No, you're not doing amazing work. You're doing crap work. And you're still sitting on the board? You, 2015, you've been here since 2018, you guys are still on the freaking board of Peloton, a company that's been failing for 2, 3 years. You're still on the board. What are you showing? What are you doing? Why isn't Barry, after the abysmal year 2, why is Barry still sitting there? We all had some of us had concerns about year 2 of Barry. They have come to fruition. It has not been great. Then we have the new people, Jonathan and Angel. What can you say about them? They're new. This guy, I think, we'll go into each of these briefly. John Colligan. If I'm saying these names wrong, forgive me. I'm doing the best I can. Founder of True Ventures. Guess what? True Ventures was an early investor in Peloton since 2015. That's where. These are my opinion. Okay, I'm the best information possible. I'm offering my opinion on these. I'm not making allegations. Again, there's no smoking gun here. Board seats are what board seats are. You know, it's not a democratic process. He was an early investor, and he's on the board. Jay Hogue co-founded TCV. Guess what? TCV led a $550 million raise for Peloton in 2018. He's on the board. He's also we didn't do. What else other boards? Oh, he's also either has been on. These are hard to validate whether they're former or current. Some of them are. I did some research. It's not worth going into. He's also on Netflix, Zillow, TripAdvisor. 2018, Pamela Thomas Graham, former CNBC CEO, now currently leads to the best of my research, a 2-employee hobby business of luxury blogs and magazines. She's also sat on the boards of Clorox, Rivian, and Bumble. We're going to see Rivian. That's why it's in blue. We're going to see Rivian again here in a second. It's just interesting. Karen Boone, the chair, 2019, former Restoration co-president. Co-presidents always work out so well. It's amazing that people still do co-presidencies. She also sits on Rivian, just like Pamela Thomas Graham. Sits on Sonos, sits on Cliff Bar. The newer guys, Jonathan Mildenhall, he co-founded 21st Century Brand, which did work for Peloton. We've seen this before. He's also on GoFundMe and Fanatics. And Angel, there's not a lot of information about Mr. Mendez, former VP of Ops at Here. And he sits on Leva Data, which is some kind of AI firm. Sleep Number, and Connexus, which is deals with supply chain. And back when Peloton had bounds of supply chain issues, that's why likely Angel got appointed to the board. So we're ending our game of Clue. The place, the person, the weapon. The place is in the boardroom. The person is the board of directors. And the weapon, to be honest, is you and me. It's investors. Because Barry can fire all the Leslies and Daras of the world, all the Jills of the world. The board can fire all the John Foleys of the world, and maybe one day they'll fire Barry. But who fires the board? Because they're seemingly very complacent to sit there and see the world burn while they sit there and do nothing, or do next to nothing. I'm talking about these 4 folks. They're seemingly complacent and happy to do so and take their check or their prestige or whatever a board seat gives you. I don't know. So who is ultimately responsible? It's in the boardroom. It is the board of directors. But it comes down to the investors. It comes down to you and me. We let these people sit on the board. We let these people control the future of Peloton, the direction of Peloton, the leadership of Peloton. because the people who are in charge of leadership, Barry and Robin, they're not doing their jobs, in my opinion. The only people who can make this change are investors. But it's a long road to haul because we've talked about investors seem complacent. They are disappointed, boy. And they seem content to be disappointed, boy. Because none of this is happening. None of this is happening. So, as investors, we need to stand up and we need to correct the path of Peloton. It's not a good path. There's no innovation. There's continual bloating. There's no international rollout. They're doing software tweaks here and there. But are they gaining new members? Are they selling new hardware? They're not gaining new members. They're not selling new hardware. And that's what comes down to the financials. To make financials, to make the company successful, you need to gain new members, subscriptions. You need to sell new hardware. That's the two sources of revenues for Peloton. It's disappointing, to say the least. Investors, it is time. It's time to stand up. Not acceptable. All right, thanks for tuning in, everybody, and we'll talk to you next time.